I'm Claudia Collins at Phoenix Raceway, and joining me today is the president of Phoenix Raceway, Julie Giese. Julie, first time we're chatting, and the first thing that I know about you is that you're from Wisconsin and grew up on a dairy farm, and then eventually went on to get a degree in agriculture. So where does racing fit into this upbringing?
It's a great question. I grew up a race fan. I'm still a race fan. I say I'm very blessed. I get to drive to a racetrack every day for work. It's not really work when you get to do that. But yeah, I grew up on a dairy farm. Agriculture was what I knew. I had an internship one summer at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I was an animal science major and realized that sitting behind a microscope in a lab all day long was definitely not what I wanted to do. So started to really explore some different opportunities and try to figure out what I wanted to do. And that's when racing really started to kind of take hold in my mind, and decided that was what I wanted to do. And here I am.
Did you feel like there were other women you could look up to that were kind of in potential roles you were looking at in this industry?
Not really. Honestly, it was like one of those things where I was like, I was so naive. I was like, oh, how hard can it be to just get a job in racing? So it was just one of those things. I didn't really look at it that way. I've been blessed. I grew up on a dairy farm where my mom and dad were doing all the work, and there was never the male-female dynamic. It was just whatever needed to get done. So it never even crossed my mind.
What did you feel like was your first foot in the door when it did click that you could do it?
So when I graduated college, I sent my resume out to all of the racetracks, and I got a lot of rejection letters. I kept those rejection letters for some reason. I think the race fan in me really appreciated the fact that I had a letter from a racetrack with a logo on it. But, I got a job at an agency in Minneapolis and really just kept networking and wanted people to know that this was a dream of mine. I wanted to work in racing. And luck would have it, one of my coworkers had a friend who was working at Watkins Glen International. He called saying that they had an open PR position and actually was asking her if she was interested. She wasn't, but she knew I had the interest in racing and passed it along. So I moved to upstate New York in January of 2001 in an entry-level role. And I'll never forget that first day driving into the racetrack and thinking, wow, this is real.
So you started at an entry-level role, but then you ended up in Daytona, which is kind of like the mecca for racing. So when did that present itself, and were you just so excited?
Yeah, the weather there is much nicer than the Midwest and upstate New York. But so Watkins Glen International and Daytona are all part of the same company at the time, International Speedway Corporation. So we had the opportunity to work with one another, get to know our colleagues at all the different tracks. And Watkins Glen's just a really great training ground. You're a small team, and you all learned how to do everything. And so, to me, there was endless opportunities for me to just get my feet wet and learn the sport. And so when the opportunity presented itself to move down to Daytona and work on the marketing team, I jumped at it.
So New York, Daytona was the next stop here in Phoenix, and what kind of opened that door for you?
The next stop was still in Daytona, but was actually with a completely different part of our company. It was with the design and development team, which was construction. And during my last few years at Daytona, I was working on the Daytona Rising project, which was our $400 million renovation project, and really started to become kind of that project manager for our construction team. So they asked, once we finished Daytona, if I would join their team as they were getting ready to actually work on the project here at Phoenix Raceway. So I spent a couple years on the construction side of our business, and then from there came here in 2018 as the new track president.
And that role was an easier transition because you kind of went from construction to construction, is that correct?
Well, I'll tell you what, the transition going from vice president of marketing to managing director of business operations for our construction team was a huge transition. It was drawings and hard hats and steel toe boots and a lot of work out on the ground. And it was really, though, those 2 years is what prepared me, I think, for my role as a track president. It helped me see that I have the opportunity to lead my way and lead a team and really not be afraid to do something that I don't always know, like just jump in and try it.
Were there any key things that you look back on in your career that you feel like you've really brought from these other positions that you've had, that you brought here to the Valley?
I think just the fan experience, I'm a race fan, and I want to see this event through the eyes of our fans, and I want to make sure that every time that they come here, they see something different, and we're continually upping our game from a fan experience perspective, and that's what Daytona is all about. You talk about Daytona being the Mecca. It is like the birthplace of NASCAR. It is hallowed ground, and there is just so much prestige. Talking about it, I'm having goosebumps just thinking about Daytona, and there's so much that goes along with that when a lot of times people come to Daytona and it's a one-time trip, it's a bucket list, and you want to make sure that they have the most unbelievable experience. We did that here with Phoenix Raceway, with the project itself, really taking that fan experience to a whole new level. But now it's on us as a team to continually grow that and change the experience, make it better each and every time a fan comes through those gates.
So what is your vision for Phoenix Raceway, let's say 5 years from now? What do we want to see here?
I've said I want Phoenix Raceway. I mean, we're a racetrack. We're always going to be a racetrack, but I want to be an entertainment destination. We have the venue that can do that. I want to host concerts and festivals and different community events. We actually had a really great creep-in cruise the other night for Halloween with the city of Avondale. We've had an off-road expo. We've done some wedding receptions in our barn venue. So we want to be that entertainment destination. We'll always first and foremost be a racetrack, and we're going to host the NASCAR Championship for as long as they'll let us. But we want people to think about Phoenix Raceway as a venue for other things as well.